They say the truth always comes to light, but I never imagined it would shatter my life so completely. For years, I thought I had everything: a happy marriage, a loyal best friend, a future full of promises. But all of that came crashing down when a single conversation revealed the betrayal hiding in plain sight. Imagine discovering that the person you trusted most had been living a double life, weaving lies into the very fabric of your relationship. It was painful, yes, but also awakening. What followed was a journey of heartbreak, self-discovery, and ultimately, renewal. This is the story of how I rebuilt my life after it all fell apart. Title: She hid her affair for years, but now everything came to light. And then Thumbnail: I installed some cameras and discovered my wife had been cheating on me for 6 years. They say marriage is the ultimate test of trust and intention, but looking back, I wonder if I ever truly understood what that meant. For years, I believed in the stimulating promise of happily ever after, only to find myself blindsided. Funny, isn't it? You trust people who speak of satisfaction with such conviction, yet they carry secrets darker than the shadows they hide in. I had my share of warning signs, but I brushed them off, convincing myself that love was enough to smooth out rough edges. The wedding day feels like yesterday, her smile radiant, her words dripping with intention, as if they were crafted to anchor my trust. But hindsight, that cruel teacher, whispered later that I'd been deceived by appearances. What I mistook for sincerity was perhaps an act so polished it sparkled. Friends and family raved about how perfect we seemed. Little did I know, perfection was just another illusion. If I'd been told to evaluate every corner of my life before taking that leap, I'd have laughed it off. Who wants to doubt someone they love? Yet, as I write this, my thoughts circle back to those faces I once trusted implicitly. The ones who offered advice on building a marriage but kept their own betrayals carefully concealed. It's a heavy truth to learn that betrayal doesn't always come from enemies. Even now, the memories prick like needles. I remember the subtle looks exchanged at gatherings, the whispered conversations that abruptly ended when I walked in. Naivety is a funny thing. It makes you feel invincible. But deep down, I always sensed something wasn't right. I just didn't know the storm brewing behind closed doors. And the worst part? That storm had been stirring long before we said, "I do." It was Tom who shattered the fragile calm I'd built around my life. My best friend, my confidant, the one person I never expected to bring such devastating news. "I need to tell you something," he said, his voice heavy with intention. At first, I thought he was joking. Tom was known for his dark humor. But the look in his eyes wasn't teasing. It was raw and unsettling. What followed hit me like a freight train. Maggie, my wife, had been involved in an affair. And it wasn't new. This secret had lived alongside us for years. He laid out the details like a grim roadmap, guiding me through the betrayal. Dates, times, even locations, they all painted a picture too vivid to ignore. How could I have been so blind? The satisfaction I once felt in my marriage now felt like a cruel joke. According to Tom, this wasn't a moment of weakness or a single mistake. It was a calculated, ongoing deception. Each meeting was planned with precision, leaving no room for doubt. The worst part? The affair started before our wedding. That realization burned deeper than any words Tom could say. Maggie's promises, her vows, they were all lies, carefully designed to keep me in the dark. How many times had she come home, kissed me goodnight, while her thoughts were tangled up with someone else? Every memory now felt like a taunt, a distorted echo of the truth I never saw coming. Tom's intention wasn't to hurt me. At least, that's what he claimed. He wanted me to know the truth, to take control of my life before it spiraled further. But his words left me with more questions than answers. How long had he known? And why tell me now? My mind raced with possibilities, each more painful than the last. Yet one thing was clear. My life was no longer the one I thought I knew. In the days that followed, my mind became a battlefield. I couldn't shake the images Tom had planted, the cold facts that turned my marriage into a farce. But I wasn't going to sit in the wreckage, wallowing in self-pity. No, I had a plan, clear, focused, and driven by a singular intention: to uncover the truth for myself. First, I installed a hidden camera in the living room, the heart of our home. It felt invasive, even wrong, but desperation often blurs the lines of morality. I needed proof. Then came the legal steps. My first meeting with the attorney was both sobering and oddly stimulating. A dose of reality wrapped in a sense of empowerment. He laid out my options, helping me understand what a divorce would look like. It wasn't just about ending the marriage. It was about reclaiming control over my life. I wanted to ensure Maggie couldn't manipulate the situation or leave me blindsided again. The camera was just the start. I changed the locks a few days later. I'd seen enough movies to know how quickly things could spiral if emotions boiled over. With every turn of the wrench, I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sorrow. This was my home, our home, but now it felt like a stage for betrayal. I boxed up her things, leaving them in the garage like artifacts from another life. It wasn't revenge, it was practicality. Maggie no longer had a place here. Each step of my plan brought a strange clarity. I wasn't acting out of rage. I was acting out of necessity. I wasn't just severing ties with Maggie. I was piecing together a new version of myself. Still, the confrontation loomed on the horizon, casting a shadow over every move I made. Would my resolve hold when I looked her in the eye? Or would the truth break me all over again? The day of the confrontation arrived, and my chest felt like a drumbeat gone wild. Maggie walked into the house, her smile disarming as always, as if the world hadn't turned upside down. I didn't waste time. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. Her expression shifted, a flicker of curiosity, then caution. The air between us grew heavy with intention. I laid out what I knew, every detail Tom had shared, and waited for her reaction. At first, she denied everything. Her voice, laced with feigned innocence, only fueled my frustration. But when I mentioned names, dates, and places, her composure cracked. Her confession began hesitantly, like pulling teeth. Yes, there was someone else. Christina. The name hung in the air, unfamiliar, yet now impossibly significant. Maggie's words tumbled out, a story of attraction, confusion, and moments she claimed were beyond her control. She blamed her actions on her bisexuality, saying she felt lost and unfulfilled. Even then, she didn't seem sorry, at least not for what she'd done. "I love you," she said, her voice trembling, as if that absolved her of the betrayal. The word love sounded hollow, almost mocking, as if it had lost its meaning somewhere along the way. She tried to rationalize it, claiming that her relationship with Christina didn't diminish her feelings for me. But how could love coexist with such disregard for trust? When pressed, Maggie offered to end the affair. She said she'd cut ties with Christina if it meant saving our marriage. But her words felt mechanical, like someone reading a script, not speaking from the heart. Her intention seemed less about reconciliation and more about self-preservation. I realized in that moment that even if she ended the affair, the damage was done. Love without trust is a house without a foundation. Beautiful, maybe, but destined to crumble. After that conversation, there was no going back. Every interaction with Maggie felt like walking through shattered glass. Careful, deliberate, but inevitably painful. Her promises to change felt forced, as though she said what she thought I wanted to hear, not what she truly believed. I couldn't escape the realization that our relationship had become a performance, and I was no longer willing to play my part. Trust was gone, and without it, love felt like an empty word. I made my decision one sleepless night, staring at the ceiling while the world outside seemed so obliviously peaceful. The divorce papers were ready. I just had to serve them. It felt surreal, ending what I'd once thought would last forever. But clinging to an illusion of satisfaction wasn't living. It was a slow death. Maggie moved out the next day, taking her boxes and, I hoped, the weight of her lies. I didn't watch her leave. I couldn't. Her new life began quickly. Maggie went to live with Jerry and Christina, the very people who had upended my world. It stung more than I'd anticipated, knowing that my own brother had played a part in this. Our bond, once unbreakable, now seemed irreparably fractured. He tried to reach out, but every word felt hollow. How could I forgive him when his actions spoke of anything but remorse? Some relationships, I realized, are better left in the past. Life without Maggie was quieter, lonelier at first, but it also felt lighter, as though I'd shed a burden I hadn't fully understood until it was gone. For the first time in years, I wasn't living in someone else's shadow. The road ahead was uncertain, but at least it was mine to walk. And for the first time, I began to see that perhaps this ending was just the beginning of something far greater. Starting over wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The house felt emptier without Maggie, but it also felt freer, like I could finally breathe. I began focusing on myself, things I'd neglected while trying to hold together a marriage built on half-truths. Therapy became a lifeline, helping me untangle the web of emotions left behind. With every session, I found a piece of myself I'd forgotten, a sense of purpose that had been buried beneath years of lies. Soon life began to move forward. I met someone new, someone who radiated the kind of authenticity I hadn't realized I was missing. She wasn't just stimulating, she was grounding, a constant reminder that love doesn't have to come with conditions or deceit. It wasn't perfect, nothing ever is, but it was real, and that was more than enough. Within a year, we married, a quiet ceremony filled with intention and genuine joy. The biggest surprise came months later. She was pregnant. It's funny how life works. What started as a chapter of heartbreak was now a story of renewal. Holding her hand during those months, I felt something I hadn't in years: hope. For once, the future didn't feel like an endless series of what-ifs. It felt like a promise, one I could finally believe in. Satisfaction wasn't just a fleeting feeling. It was a steady hum in the background, a foundation for something solid. Looking back, I wouldn't say I'm grateful for the betrayal, but I am grateful for what it taught me. It forced me to grow, to see the cracks in myself and in others. Trust, I've learned, is the cornerstone of any relationship. Without it, everything else falls apart. But with it, the possibilities are endless. And now, as I prepare for fatherhood, I know I'm stepping into this new chapter with intention, strength, and a heart that's finally whole.
Keep watching our stories by clicking on one of the videos that appear on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be alerted about new videos. See you next time.